buying that excuse that Meghan Markle used a fake belly to protect her real belly? I'm not buying this.
Oh, I was there. Hated the day. The day was a miserable day. I mean, it was a worst royal engagement I ever did, a royal wedding I ever did.
Actually, this does look like a moon bump to me.
Archie Harrison, Mountbatten Windsor, was the name and had nothing to do with the royal.
What if the biggest mystery around the royal spotlight wasn't what we saw, but what we didn't see?
You're going to see or hear Meghan Markle's belly pop. You're going to see these people's faces. And I can tell you that one of these people is now speaking out.
When it comes to Meghan Markle, her moves in and out of public view never feel random. They feel calculated, like every step is part of a bigger media game. While most royals follow a predictable path built on tradition, duty, and carefully managed appearances, Meghan seemed to switch the script completely.
And I travelled the world with him, and I did really enjoy working with him. But, now I really don't care if I ever see him again, because the way he's behaved towards the king and our queen and his brother and his sister-in-law is appalling.
Instead of quietly fitting into that world, she brought a whole new energy, one that mixed personal storytelling, bold visibility, and a sharp understanding of how attention really works. And here's where things start to raise eyebrows. That one moment royal photographers usually wait for, the glowing, picture-perfect pregnancy phase, somehow turned into the hardest thing to capture.
She delivered it like an actress delivered it. An opera responded going, wow.
Moon bump theory.
Well, basically, it suggests that Meghan didn't actually give birth to these children and that she was wearing a prosthetic bump. And of course, lots of medical experts have come out looking at that video and saying it's just impossible for someone who's literally 9 months pregnant and about to give birth to dance in that.
We're talking about a moment that's practically a tradition in royal history, where every angle is documented, every outfit analyzed, every appearance turned into headlines. But this time, the usual access just wasn't there, and people started noticing fast.
I mean, obviously, when William was born and Harry was born and George and Charlotte and Louis, we got great pictures outside the hospital. I remember, and William and Catherine especially, they made such an effort to show the whole world their new baby.
Even Arthur Edwards, a photographer who's spent decades capturing generations of the royal family, reportedly found himself kept at a distance. This is someone who photographed legends like Princess Diana, someone trusted to document some of the most personal public moments in royal life.
Agree, I'm not a Meghan Markle fan and I don't defend her, and there's all sorts of inconsistencies and hypocrisies, but she's an actress, she's not the brightest cookie in the basket. There's no way Kate would do anything.
So when a figure like that is suddenly not in the picture, it naturally gets people asking questions. At the same time, though, the spotlight didn't disappear, it just shifted. Instead of traditional royal photo moments, attention seemed to move toward carefully chosen interviews, emotional storytelling, and major media projects. From high-profile conversations to big streaming deals with Netflix, the focus stayed strong, just in a very different way than people were used to seeing.
Meghan Markle has posted a cringy video of her and Prince Harry dancing in a hospital.
And that contrast is what really fuels the conversation. On one side, you have a royal system built on visibility and shared moments with the public. On the other, you have a more controlled, selective approach where certain images never fully enter the public space. It's not proof of anything on its own, but it does create a gap that people can't help but talk about. Usually, when a royal pregnancy is announced, it kicks off a wave of appearances and photographs. Think about how Catherine, Princess of Wales, steps out and instantly it becomes front-page news across the world. But with Meghan, the pattern felt different. Less access, fewer traditional visuals, and a tighter grip on what actually reached the public eye.
The thing that strikes me is her lack of understanding and recognition of the role that she had or has in the royal family. And, both of them have been on the record repeatedly saying they don't want to be living their lives through the lens of a camera and in a goldfish bowl and all of that. And then they take the camera into the most private of rooms where you're about to deliver your baby.
And that's what makes this story so interesting. Not because of what's confirmed, but because of what's missing. Because when someone stays in the spotlight while also controlling what's seen, it changes the entire dynamic. It turns a typical royal moment into something else entirely, a conversation, a debate, and for some, a mystery that still hasn't fully settled. When Meghan's moment finally came, something felt off. No big announcements, no traditional photo calls, no crowd of photographers lining up for that iconic royal image, just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't calm things down. It makes people lean in even closer.
May 6th at 3:02 a.m., Frogmore Cottage. This is a public announcement. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex used the services of a surrogate. We apologize for any misunderstandings. To this day, nobody has debunked that tweet as fake. In order for a child to be in the line of succession, it has to come from the body of the woman. Why would Meghan Markle be faking all those big stomachs? You know, that big belly, the belly swaying back and forth. She was huge. She was overdue. Now when Spare came out, we know that story is absolute.
For someone like Meghan Markle, who often spoke about openness and honesty, this low-key approach didn't go unnoticed. Naturally, people started asking questions. Was this about privacy, or was it about control over the narrative? Because in the modern media world, pulling back access doesn't stop attention, it usually multiplies it. And that's exactly what happened. Even without the usual visuals, Meghan stayed everywhere in the headlines, just without the one thing people expected to see. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the royal media machine kept moving and the tabloids didn't slow down either. Veteran photographer Arthur Edwards was still waiting for that one defining image, but it never came. And when someone with that level of access and experience ends up with nothing, it raises eyebrows.
She is literally kneeling all the way down. One of those people reached out to me, but not before this person reached out to the newspapers, complaining that the palace was literally threatening her, that the palace had tried to bribe her, and when that didn't work, because she really dislikes what's happening and she wants to come clean, and she has been trying to tell.
Then things took an even stranger turn. A short clip started making rounds online, just a few seconds long, slightly blurry, but enough to spark a massive reaction. In the video, Meghan, heavily pregnant, moves in a way that some viewers didn't expect. It didn't take long for online communities to break it down frame by frame, slowing it down, zooming in, analyzing every detail like it was a major investigation. Now, to be fair, none of this proves anything on its own. But that didn't stop the internet from doing what it does best, speculating. Some people started questioning whether everything matched up with what they expected to see, while others pushed back, saying clips can be misleading and taken out of context. At the same time, instead of traditional candid photos, more polished images began circulating. Soft lighting, perfect angles, carefully framed moments. It all looked more like a lifestyle shoot than a typical royal pregnancy update. And again, that contrast stood out.
There's no stress there, not even a little bit of stress, none. And there should be there because she's getting ready to have one of the worst painful things of her life, having a baby. And when that happens, you look forward to the event, but you don't look forward to that pain. And it's so bad, a lot of women can't remember.
What really added fuel to the conversation, though, was the continued silence. The palace didn't offer detailed responses, sticking to brief statements or no comment at all. And in situations like this, silence doesn't always calm things. It can actually make speculation grow louder. When Arthur Edwards later suggested that photographers had been advised not to focus on certain shots, the internet didn't see it as routine caution. They saw it as something more. Conversations exploded, opinions split, and suddenly, what should have been a straightforward moment turned into an ongoing debate. And right in the middle of all that noise, one question kept coming back again and again. If everything was normal, why did it feel so tightly controlled? That question didn't come from official sources. It came from observers, commentators, and even individuals claiming they had seen glimpses beyond the polished public image. She wasn't some high-level insider with a title or official access, just someone loosely connected to the world around the Sussex circle. But the moment she suggested that the polished public image didn't fully match what she had seen, everything around her seemed to shift instantly. The vibe changed fast. Conversations that once felt normal suddenly turned cold. Messages stopped getting replies, and doors that used to be open quietly closed. People who follow royal history closely found it all a little too familiar. Situations like this have popped up before. Take Paul Page, for example, a former royal guard who spoke about his experiences behind palace walls. Not long after sharing his perspective, reports suggested he received a formal warning.
Meghan at the Albert Hall. How many weeks pregnant was she supposed to be? Was it about 8 weeks? And she looks as if she's at least 5 months pregnant. Also, why is the belly several shades browner than anywhere else? It's not supposed to be brown.
That moment stuck with a lot of observers because it showed how quickly things can tighten up when sensitive topics come out. According to the claims around this new situation, the pressure didn't come all at once. It built dear. It started with polite conversations, then turned into heavier talks, and before long, the environment around her felt completely different. People she knew reportedly began distancing themselves, and opportunities that once seemed secure suddenly disappeared. Now, to be clear, none of this is officially confirmed, but the pattern is what caught people's attention. And here's the twist. The more the story seemed to get pushed down, the more attention it pulled online. The internet has a way of amplifying anything that feels restricted. Even without hard proof, the reaction itself became part of the conversation. Because when something looks like it's being avoided, people naturally get more curious. Behind the scenes, many believe the royal system operates with a strong focus on image control. Not necessarily hiding things, but carefully managing how stories are presented. It's less about reacting emotionally and more about keeping everything steady, controlled, and aligned with tradition.
When Diana was delivering Harry or William, there was complete quiet. No one knew. Cameras couldn't get even anywhere near the hospital.
Sure, but we
let
didn't have
alone in
mobile
the room.
phones then.
What?
We didn't have mobile phones then.
But it was so private, and there's a dignity with privacy.
Yes.
And I certainly wouldn't, if I were pregnant, dance like, well, I can't.
That approach has been part of the monarchy for generations. When discussions around Meghan Markle started gaining momentum, some insiders suggested that the response wasn't about directly addressing every claim, but about managing the overall narrative. Meetings, messaging strategies, and careful wording became key. Every public statement had to be precise, measured, and reviewed multiple times. There's even that long-standing royal mindset people often mention: stay calm, don't over-explain, and let the situation settle on its own. It sounds composed, but in today's fast-moving online world, that silence can sometimes have the opposite effect. While Meghan continued building her public image overseas, the conversation back in the UK didn't slow down. Reports suggested that officials were trying to balance two difficult things at once: protecting the reputation of the monarchy while also avoiding the appearance of taking sides. And in the middle of it all, figures like Arthur Edwards remained on the outside, still waiting, still watching, and still without that one image everyone expected to see. The palace gates themselves started to feel like a symbol of something bigger, not just security, but silence.
I would say step one would be to confirm this room, find out where it was, find out that very room, find out which room it was, and go look at it. If it's at that hospital, wherever it is she says she was, go make sure that's the hospital room, that it exists there, because it could be somewhere else, who knows.
Because when access gets tighter and visuals become rare, people don't assume calm. They assume something is being carefully managed. Inside those historic walls, nothing just disappears. It gets handled, categorized, and quietly placed out of reach. The British monarchy has always balanced two powerful forces: tradition and public image. For generations, that balance has kept everything running smoothly. But when conversations around the Sussex situation began brushing up against sensitive topics like succession, the tone shifted fast. Because when it comes to the royal line, even small questions can feel huge. Once social media users started connecting timelines, announcements, and public appearances, the discussion picked up speed. And instead of clear answers, the response stayed minimal. That calm, controlled silence that once felt dignified suddenly started to feel different to some observers, less like confidence, more like careful navigation. History shows this isn't new.
Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain. Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Elizabeth from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
Moments like Edward VIII stepping away from the throne or Princess Diana speaking openly about her experiences changed how people viewed the monarchy forever. Now, in a digital era, those shifts happen faster and louder. With platforms constantly analyzing every clip and statement, royal life started to look less like a distant institution and more like something people could dissect in real time. Every post, every pause, every missing detail became part of a much bigger conversation. Some commentators even began treating it like an ongoing series, following each development as it unfolded. And here's the part that really caught attention. The focus wasn't just on individuals anymore, it was on the system itself. People weren't just asking who was involved. They were asking how everything was being handled. Because in today's world, public perception can shift overnight. Then came another unexpected twist. Reports surfaced about a doctor linked to the Sussex birth story, presented in a way that sounded clear and official at first. But not long after, conflicting claims started circulating. According to some discussions, even statements connected to that story didn't fully align. Now, to be clear, none of this confusion confirms anything by itself. But when different versions of the same detail appear, it naturally sparks more questions, especially when the monarchy is known for precision, structure, and carefully managed communication. That single inconsistency was enough to send online communities into full analysis mode. From forums to video platforms, people started breaking everything down, comparing timelines, and revisiting past statements. It didn't take long for everyday viewers to turn into investigators, piecing together their own interpretations. And just like that, what should have been a straightforward announcement turned into something much bigger, not necessarily because of what was said, but because of how many different ways it was being understood. Instead of stepping in to clear things up, the palace leaned right back into its most familiar move: silence.
He owes it to the public of each and every country of which the king is monarch to clear up any doubts about anybody in the line of succession. Meghan's conduct is what has triggered all of this. Archie doing a deep dive between the knees. Archie competing with Tom Daley before he was even given birth to. Archie's unique qualities, and we need to remember that Archie was truly unique because his first word was crocodile. And Archie, of course, was the product of a union that maritally started when they were roasting chicken. And I leave it at that. But what I will go back to say, in terms of without giving too much levity to their Harry and Meghan's really crazed behavior.
No detailed explanations, no step-by-step clarifications, just a quiet pause that left a lot of space for people to fill in the blanks themselves. And in today's online world, that kind of silence doesn't slow things down. It speeds everything up. Because when official voices stay quiet, the internet doesn't. Every unanswered question quickly turns into a discussion. Every small detail becomes a theory, and suddenly, people everywhere are comparing clips, screenshots, and timelines like it's a full-time job. It's not about proving anything. It's about trying to make sense of what feels incomplete. By the time the conversation started to cool off, one thing stood out clearly. The monarchy may be known for protecting its image and keeping things controlled, but the modern audience plays by different rules. Information moves fast, and if something feels unclear, it doesn't just disappear, it evolves into a bigger conversation. And when it comes to royal communication, silence has always been part of the strategy. Elizabeth II understood that better than anyone. She didn't need to speak directly to send a message. Sometimes, the smallest visual change said everything. One moment that really caught attention happened during her annual Christmas broadcast. Viewers who pay close attention notice something subtle but powerful. A framed photo that previously included Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their son was no longer visible in the background. Now, on the surface, that might seem like a simple change in decoration, but royal watchers know better. Every object in those broadcasts is placed with extreme care, down to the smallest detail. Nothing is random, and nothing is accidental. So when that photo was no longer there, people noticed immediately. There was no statement explaining it, no official comment, just an empty space where something used to be. And in royal terms, that kind of quiet shift can speak louder than words. Some tried to explain it as a normal update, new layout, different arrangement, nothing more. But others saw it differently. To them, it looked like a subtle signal, delivered in the calm, controlled way the monarchy is known for. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it didn't need to be. That single visual change carried weight because of where it came from and how it was presented. No direct confrontation, no public back and forth, just a quiet moment that people interpreted in their own ways. And history shows something important about moments like this. When the royal family chooses silence, it doesn't always mean nothing is happening. Sometimes it means everything is being handled behind the scenes, because in this world, silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a message all on its own, and more often than not, it's only the beginning of what comes next. Most royal stories wrap up with a neat public moment, a wave, a photo, something clear for everyone to see. But this situation, it seemed to drift into uncertainty instead.
Either Archie or Lily, and it needs to happen. They need to prove that those children, Meghan and Harry, are not entitled to privacy in this matter. And their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit on the throne of this country. All Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she popped those babies out. And that's all they need to do. And if they don't, it is unfair on the children. It's also unfair on the royal family.
As questions around the birth reached their peak, attention quickly shifted across the ocean to Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, the place many believed was connected to the Sussex story. At that point, people expected a simple outcome. Either confirm the details and calm everything down, or step in with a clear statement to settle the noise. But what happened felt more complicated. The hospital did publicly congratulate Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, which at first seemed straightforward. Yet later on, responses connected to the circulating clips and discussions didn't fully line up in a way that gave complete clarity. For many observers, that created a gray area. Not a direct confirmation, not a direct denial, just careful wording that left room for interpretation. And in today's media climate, that kind of response doesn't close a conversation. It stretches it out even further. Online communities immediately got to work. People started comparing visuals, analyzing backgrounds, and matching small details like lighting, layouts, and equipment placement. It turned into a full-on digital investigation, with everyday viewers stepping into the role of analysts, trying to connect pieces that may or may not even belong together. Meanwhile, the hospital itself stayed professional and quiet. Bound by privacy rules and regulations, they didn't engage with the growing speculation. From the outside, it looked like a wall, calm, controlled, and not giving anything extra away. And right in the middle of all that, Meghan's public image remained steady. Carefully presented appearances, polished visuals, and controlled messaging kept everything looking composed on the surface. No direct engagement with the speculation, no step-by-step breakdowns, just a continued focus on broader projects and public roles. That contrast is what kept people talking. In a time where most public figures share everything instantly, this situation felt different. Less access, fewer raw moments, and more control over what actually reached the public. Then, just when the conversation seemed like it might finally fade, a familiar name came back. Into focus! Arthur Edwards, someone who had spent decades documenting royal history, re-entered the discussion. His perspective didn't necessarily answer every question, but it added another layer to a story that already had plenty. And that's where things stand. A mix of official silence, public curiosity, and ongoing debate. Not a clear conclusion, but a situation that continues to be discussed from different angles. Because in the end, it's not just about what's confirmed or denied, It's about how the absence of clear answers can turn a single moment into a long-running mystery that people keep coming back to. This was never just about one moment or one image. It turned into something way bigger. It became a conversation about control, perception, and how a global institution protects its image in real time. When Arthur Edwards said "Reciprocity, we were told to stay away," that line didn't just fade out, it stuck with people. Because whether it was about privacy or careful planning, the outcome felt the same to a lot of observers. For many watching, it looked like the royal system, one of the most powerful brands in the world, hesitated under pressure, not collapsed, not confirmed anything outright, but paused just long enough for the internet to take over the narrative. And once that happens, there's no slowing it down. Every silence gets louder, every missing detail becomes a discussion, and suddenly, the story isn't controlled by tradition anymore, it's driven by public curiosity. And that's where things really shift, because this isn't the old days of quiet headlines and controlled press cycles. This is a 24/7 digital world where people rewind clips, analyze statements, and build their own conclusions in real time. The moment the palace goes quiet, the online world turns the volume all the way up. But here's the thing, you haven't even seen the part that really shook everything. The moment that pushed this whole situation into overdrive came from an online leak that caught everyone off guard. That's where the narrative around Meghan Markle and Prince Harry started to shift in a way nobody expected. So if you want the full picture, you need to see what happened next. Tap into the next video on your screen right now. It breaks down that leak and everything that followed step by step. And if you're into deep dives like this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Catch you in the next one.